This is a hypnotic movie. That's the best way I can describe it. I just was really mesmerized by it, and I imagine many people, especially in America, will be quick to dismiss this as a porno, but I don't think it is at all. And to describe it as such is a disservice.
I would say, it's a movie about love, and when you fall in love, one of the things that is the most addictive, besides the personality of the person you have in front of you, if you come to go from a platonic love to a carnal love, it becomes much more addictive. I know most people have been through it at least once in their life. Even young people usually discover the addiction to love at the age of 20 maximum. And the movie is about all the pleasure and the pain that it brings together, all together.
Absolutely. No, I agree.
So I think there's nothing that is not relatable. The truth is that it's very unnormal that these things are not portrayed in regular cinema, in regular theaters, because it's the essence of life, and also it's to my eyes, is one of the most shameful moments you experience in life, when you're positively, lovingly in love with someone. The tactile contact, the kissing, the hugging, the making love, it's like being in the center of the world. It's positive, and behind any sexual contact, mostly there is like a very natural need of reproducing the species, reaffirming life, although you make it in a non-reproductive way. What's inside your gut is that you want to affirm life for what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a thing that I seriously don't understand, why it's so much more accepted in a Western society that seems to be more developed than the religious societies around. Why it's so problematic to show a male genital or a female genital, which are things that are absolutely clean and as natural as the hands or the feet or the face. Why that is more problematic than showing guns?
Yeah, it's a great point, and that's something, we should have answered a long time ago in this country. But yeah, I mean, because a lot of people are quick to look at sort of like the more, shall I say, taboo moments in your movie. But the thing I love about this movie, and also about Enter the Void and Irreversible, is that despite like any sexual or really violent moments, there's a lot of sweetness in your movies. There's a lot of intimacy in them.
Some movies are reptilian. The human brain has three parts. You have the reptilian brain that is very tiny, and it's all about domination, survival of the species, and reproduction, and eating. It's all about survival. Then you have another brain above. That's the cortex. That's the mammal brain, the one in which you consider your brood, you consider your species or your crowd, and you protect them because they will protect you. It's a more sharingful brain. And then you have the neocortex, that is a calculative brain that is very cold, but also is the one that brings language to the humans, and that also permits you to make plans for your own future. So you can also, mathematics will have, when you do an addition, you do it with the neocortex. In life, sometimes you're put in situations in which you think you're turning mad because you have three different answers to the same situation, and it's because you have three computers working with different programs, and they don't always have the same answer. I would say this movie, at the end, is a very mammal movie. It's about the affective brain and the affective needs of a man and a woman in a world is a mess. But and when they connect to each other, they think their connection is going to save their personal lives, and they fail in that project, like most couples fail.
Yeah, it's true. And there's a lot of like Easter eggs throughout the movie. I mean, like the Love Hotel, there's a model of it in the room, and there's a number of posters we see throughout the movie from movies like Salò or Taxi Driver, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Are those movies you like, and did any of them inform the look of or the feel of Love at all?
I would say I wanted to put all these things that have been obsessing me my whole life. It's not an autobiographical movie. It's a movie about life. It's in many kind of issues that are familiar to me, and I enjoyed the idea that this guy was like a young filmmaker. In some ways, the character of Enter the Void was an extension of me. In some ways, the Vincent Cassel in Irreversible is an extension of me. But just those situations in which those two characters were put in my previous movies were kind of different from my personal life because they were put in very extreme situations that I haven't experienced. In the case of this movie, it's once again like an extension of those characters or of myself. And the guy is not a hero, it's just a random guy who has good taste, who's a party guy, who's friendly, but who's kind of stupid, especially when he drinks. And I would say many spectators can identify with that character because it's a very common character. He could be my younger brother that I would try to advise, but I still like that he was wearing the jacket of De Niro's character in Taxi Driver. I like the fact that he had my posters on the walls because I thought, oh, this is a guy that if I had come from another background, I was a painter myself, maybe I would have put all my reproductions of all my favorite paintings.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And I was talking with Carl earlier, who plays Murphy, and I talked about how his performance in a lot of ways is more emotionally naked than it is physically naked. And you had the actors, you had them working from an outline to where they would improvise scenes. How would you set up a scene with them?
I would say the story of the movie is not improvised. I had a very precise, not screenplay, but treatment, 7 pages treatment, which contained all the scenes, and they were numbers, so there were like 60 scenes. And but I like keeping a big part of what the movie was going to be on the side, so we could create those scenes together. Once we were on the set, I had no plans, I had no storyboard, I had no dialogues. So we said, well, this is the situation, how should we portray it? And then the actors came with their ideas, I came with my last moment ideas, even the cinematographer, and then it was like sharing the situation with people that you think are talented, charismatic, and inventive, and intelligent. So, well, and so if we, instead of making choices, I would just film as many different versions as I could, and then in the editing process, you pick up the one that fits the best to the whole movie. You know, once you start editing, it's like the movie has its inner needs, and there are scenes that you love, but they cannot work inside the movie where you thought they would work. And sometimes you just cut them, not because they're bad, just because they don't fit to the organic needs of the whole movie.
Yeah,
or even sometimes you do different. You do the same scene with dialogues and another one that is totally silent, and probably is not the one that you thought would work that actually works once you put the scene that comes before, and once you put the following scene afterwards. If the two scenes are very talkative, then maybe it's better to put the silent version. Although maybe the dialogues were really good in that scene also.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mentioned the editing process is one of the most fascinating parts of filmmaking. I mean, did this movie really live up to the vision you had of it in your head?
Did it live to? I would say, yeah. I was always lucky with my movies. I always thought they would not be as achieved as what they were at the end. Not because I was not willing to, but there are so many reasons to have accidents in the process of making the movie, like relational accidents, technical accidents, or financial accidents. I've been lucky with all my movies until now. So it's, no, there are more reasons to fail a movie than to succeed. It's like also, but it's a bit the same in love stories. You know, some people are meant to love each other, but because of a bad timing or because of misunderstandings or because also of other people who are jealous and just the best love stories end up breaking up when you know that the two persons could absolutely match.
Yeah, definitely. And the choice of music in this movie is great. I love that you included some music by John Carpenter. I'm a big fan of his stuff. And did you have did you want this movie to have an actual music score, or were you more happy with like the selections? Did you want to make just particular selections of music?
No, I have no idea of which music I would put in the soundtrack before editing. So we first shot the movie, then I put all the scenes in the right order, and then I started trying music that I already had on my computer. In the iTunes program, you can put 5 stars. So I first tried my favorite melodies or songs, and then once I knew they would really work, we started negotiating them, and most of them were very famous musics or melodies, and mostly the musicians that I contact or the record labels I contact were very friendly to me because we had a low budget for the music, as we had a low budget for the whole film, but the fact that people knew what I had shot before and they liked those movies, they helped me, and I don't know how much John Carpenter would have asked for the use of his music if it had been a request coming from a Hollywood movie, but it would be much more than he accepted to negotiate for this French production or French risky production. So yeah, I would say all people were very, very friendly to me.
Great. That's great to know. Yeah, the music is great. I like that.
And I'm almost surprised that some people decide that they want to have a composed soundtrack for their movies. It's much riskier. I would always first try things that exist, because then you can make sure that they really that they really match with the scene.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. That's a good point.
Beyond how much it costs or not.
Right, and basically, in terms of the way I like the way the sex is portrayed in this movie. I mean, it's portrayed, the sex is the equivalent of making love, and then sex is just sex, where love is not really present; it's just there. I mean, that's the fascinating thing, and that's what makes the movie interesting, because it's not every sex scene is done in the same way. Yeah. And how much was that by your design?
I did not. I know there were moments in the script that said that they make love in different ways. Then no, I had very intelligent actors or non-actors who agreed to do the movie, and we knew we were doing a serious movie about love addiction, and you cannot not portray the carnal contact if you're talking about love addiction. So and we all knew that we wanted to do a movie that would be both natural and valuable. So all those love scenes were shot at the beginning of the shooting schedule, so we could do them with a very reduced crew. There was no makeup girl, no stylist, whatever. We were just maybe 10 in the crew, and maybe just 2 or 3 people in the room besides the ones who were nude in front of the camera. That's how we managed to create some confidence and some kind of clean, happy, joyful mood. Not lots of the things are simulated. Why don't people show what real life is? Why can you show so many guns and you cannot show the sweet genitals of loving 4 people? Yeah,
this country is full of hypocrisies and contradictions when it comes to sex.
But it's not only linked to the country, because there would be like disconnecting America from Europe. But it's I think it's a thing from the Western world, maybe more visible in America, because America is the main producer of commercial movies. So you say, well, the Americans don't show it. But even in maybe you see more commonly people naked in Italian or French movies than here. But it's a whole Western way of thinking. That, but for sure, you see much more guns in America than anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like in Europe there's more of a people are able to talk more freely about sex or portray it in movies.
And it's weird, for example, when you in France you're forced to ask for a rating for the movie to have it released, and for the French National Center of Cinema, drugs are a much bigger issue than sex. Like people kissing or having or making love is not a big issue. People doing drugs, they say, "Oh, this is if it's shown in a kind of positive way, then it's risky for a younger audience, and you can get a high rating for drugs." For example, in Enter the Void had a 16-year-old rating because the movie does not promote or dispromote drugs, but they just thought that it was risky. That movie could be shown to a 12 or 13-year-old kid because then maybe he would be appealed.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's a pro-drug movie, but it's a great movie too.
And I heard that in Canada, all movies in which you can see people smoking cannot get a general audience certificate because they really don't want the kids to see people smoking on TV or whatever. So it's a social issue.
It is definitely.